All right, here we are back. Outsiders Chapter 10. This is Mr. Daniels here. What a sad ending to Chapter 9. Well, guess what? Chapter 10, the action you may think is gone. If you remember the last scene of Chapter 9, Dally bolts through the door down the hall. That's where we pick up Chapter 10. Let's go ahead and read on. I walked down the hall in a daze. Dally had taken the car, and I started the long walk home in a stupor. Johnny was dead. But he wasn't. That still body back in the hospital, it wasn't Johnny. Johnny was somewhere else, maybe asleep in a lot or playing a pinball machine in the bowling alley or sitting on the back of the church steps in Wintersville. I'd go home and walk by the lot, and Johnny would be sitting on the curb smoking a cigarette. Maybe we'd lie on our backs and watch the stars. He isn't dead, I said to myself. He isn't dead. And this time, my dreaming worked. I convinced myself he wasn't dead. I must have wandered around for hours, sometimes even out in the street, getting honked at and cussed out. I might have stumbled around all night except for a man who asked me if I wanted to ride. Huh? Oh, yeah, I guess so, I said. I got in. The man who was in his mid-20s looked at me. Are you all right, kid? You look like you've been in a fight. I have been. A rumble. I'm okay. Johnny is not dead, I told myself, and I believed it. Hate to tell you this, kiddo, the guy said dryly, but you're bleeding all over my car seats. I blinked. I am? Your head. I reached to scratch the side of my head where it had been itching a while, and when I looked at my hand, it was smeared with blood. Oh, gosh, mister, I'm sorry, I said dumbfounded. Oh, don't worry about it. This wreck's been through worse. What's your address? I'm not about to dump a hurt kid on the streets this time of night. I told him. He drove me to my house and I got out. Thanks a lot. What was left of our gang was in the living room. Steve was stretched out on the sofa, his shirt unbuttoned and his side bandaged. His eyes were closed, but when the door shut behind me, he opened them, and I suddenly wondered if my own eyes looked as feverish and bewildered as his. Soda had a wide cut on his lip and a bruise across his cheek. There was a Band-Aid over Derry's forehead, and he had a black eye. One side of Two-Bit's face was taped up. Found out later, he had 4 stitches in his cheek and 7 in his hand where he busted his knuckle open over his socia's head. They were lounging around, reading the paper and smoking. Where's the party, I thought dully. Weren't Soda and Steve planning a party after the rumble? They all looked up when I walked in. Derry leaped to his feet. Where have you been? Oh, let's not start that again, I thought. He stopped suddenly. Pointy boy, what's the matter? I looked at all of them, a little frightened. Johnny, he's dead. My voice sounded strange even to me. But he's not dead, a voice in my head said. We told him about beating the socials and I don't know, he just died. He told me to stay gold, I remembered. What was he talking about? There was a stricken silence. I don't think any of us had realized how bad off Johnny had been. Soda made a funny noise and looked like he was going to start crying. Two-Bit's eyes were closed and his teeth were clenched. And I suddenly remembered Dally, pounding on the wall. Dallas is gone, I said. He ran out like the devil was after him. He's going to blow up. He couldn't take it. How can I take it? I wondered. Dally's a lot tougher than I am. Why can I take it when Dally can't? And then I knew Johnny was the only thing Dally loved. And now Johnny was gone. Well, so we finally broke. Two-Bit spoke everyone's feelings. So even Dally has a breaking point. I started shaking. Derry said something to me in a low voice to Soda. Pointy boy? Soda said soft like he was talking to an injured animal. You look sick. Sit down. I backed up just like a frightened animal, shaking my head. I'm okay. I felt sick. I felt as if any minute I was going to fall flat on my face, but I shook my head. I don't want to sit down. Derek took a step toward me, but I backed away. Don't touch me, I said. My heart was pounding in slow thumps, throbbing at the side of my head, and I wondered if everyone else could hear it. Maybe that's why they're all looking at me, I thought. They can hear my heart beating. The phone rang, and after a moment's hesitation, Derry turned from me to it. He said hello, and then listened. He hung up quickly. It was Daly. He phoned from a booth. He just robbed a grocery store and the cops are after him. We gotta hide him. He'll be at the lot in a minute. We all left the house at a dead run. Even Steve and I wondered vaguely why no one was doing somersaults off the steps this time. Things were sliding in and out of focus, and it seemed funny to me that I couldn't run in a straight line. We reached the vacant lot just as Daly came in, running as hard as he could from the opposite direction. The wail of a siren grew louder as a police car pulled up across the street from the lot. Doors slammed as the policeman leaped out. Daly had reached the circle of light under the street lamp. Skidding to a halt, he turned and jerked a black object from his waistband. I remembered his voice. I've been carrying a heater. It ain't loaded, but it sure does help a bluff. It was only yesterday that Daly had told Johnny and me that. But yesterday was years ago, a lifetime ago. Daly raised the gun, and I thought, you blasted fool! They don't know you're only bluffing. And then even as the policeman's gun spit fire into the night, I knew that was what Daly wanted. He was jerked half around by the impact of bullets, then slowly crumpled with a look of grim triumph on his face. He was dead before he hit the ground. But I knew that's what he wanted, even as the lot echoed with the cracks of shots, even as I begged silently, please, not him and Johnny both. I knew he would be dead, because Daly Winston wanted to be dead, and he always got what he wanted. Nobody would write editorials praising Daly. 2 friends of mine had died that night, one a hero, the other a hoodlum. But I remember Daly pulling Johnny through the window of the burning church. Daly giving us his gun, although it could mean jail time for him. Daly risking his life for us, trying to keep Johnny out of trouble. And now he was a dead juvenile delinquent. There wouldn't be any editorials in his favor. Daly didn't die a hero. He died violent and young and desperate. Just like we all knew he'd die some way. Just like Tim Shepard and Curly Shepard and the Brumley boys and the other guys we knew would die someday. But Johnny was right. He died gallant. Steve stumbled forward with a sob, but Soda caught him by the shoulders. Easy, buddy, I heard him say softly. There's nothing we can do now. Nothing we can do. Not for Daly or Johnny or Tim Shepard or any of us. My stomach gave a violent start, turned into a hunk of ice. The world was spinning around me, and blobs of faces and visions of things past were dancing in the red mist that covered the lot. It swirled into a mass of colors, and I felt myself swaying on my feet. Someone cried, "Glory, look at the kid!" And the ground rushed up to meet me very suddenly. We're going to pause right there. So, what is this, like the 3rd time that Ponyboy has passed out? Let's think about all the times in my head. So number 1 is right here. Number 2 is the drowning scene at the fountain, and 3rd would be the scene in the church fire. Did I get them all? There may be another in there. You know, poor Ponyboy. And you can see this being foreshadowed as you see how sick he is, and he describes him, the way that he can't run in a straight line and all that stuff. How sad for this scene to come down to this, for Daly to raise his gun up in the air. Now, this gun has no bullets in it. No bullets at all, but you know what? Daly lost hope on life. You know, Johnny was gone. He gave up, and he wanted to die right there. And like Pony says, Daly always gets what he wants, and that's what he wanted, sadly enough. Well, hey, we're going to go ahead and stop the segment here and move on to the next segment because we don't have enough time to read all of Chapter 10 here, but it's going to be coming up on the next block. So thank you for listening here on YouTube. Enjoy the last half of Chapter 10.